So I've been having trouble with my dryer making a lot of noises, kind of really squeaking or making this weird loud noise. Try to let you listen to it a little bit. So it's not too bad right now. It actually semi-fixed itself, of course, right before I wanted to record this. But it's really a squeaking sound. I could really hear it when it shut down like this. You can hear it kind of squeak as it stops. So I decided to fix it myself. I got this kit off of Amazon. I'll put a link in the description for it. So it's a whole kit. So I wasn't really sure what was the problem, whether it's the any of the pulleys that are actually on the drum, the belt itself, this tensioning wheel. So I just got this whole thing. I had this idea, let me just open up, see what the issue is, or see if I can find it first, and then fix it. This was pretty cheap. So I had to figure out how to get it off first. So it looked like just kind of looking around. It seemed like the top come off. I hadn't taken this off before, so I'm kind of exploring, trying to figure it out here. So it was like, I see these two screws on the top. This can probably take it off. I think it was like a 1/4-inch wrench or a socket. Yeah, 1/4 inch. So I took a couple of these at the top just to see where that led. And then I kind of tugged on it a while. It didn't come off. I may have done a little bit more, but I think maybe this part was attached underneath. Your dryer might be a little bit different. This is just kind of giving an example of mine. So there was two more that I saw underneath, and then once I did that came off. And then just kind of pull it to the side. I'm sure all the dryers are pretty similar. Some might have attachments, but you always want to make sure that there's no wires underneath pulling it, so don't just start yanking things off. Or this one, you can see all the control is sitting there on the side. But luckily this one didn't have any wires connecting the top. I'm trying to do this one-handed. I'm just kind of exploring too. I see there's the drum, and it's sealed. Generally there's a belt like this that goes around and that attaches to the motor, and then that tensioning pulley. That's pretty much it. It's pretty simple for things that were going to squeak. And I noticed this had some of the electronics here had two screws, and I had to get that off because that was attached to the back. Which I'm trying to get off. So you see all these screws down the top. I think I've looked at a couple different dryers before. They all look pretty similar. There might be some differences. So I took all of these off, yanking on it. Still didn't come out. There was one more screw back here, in the middle. On the back, once I took this off, then that released it. So what I'm really doing is trying to get in here and find the pulleys, or see. I wasn't sure whether I got from the back or from the front, and I lucked out. Well, here's one point where you see the wires actually attached, so you can't yank it. I could have probably taken the cord off and disconnected the wires, but I'm just trying to do this somewhat quick and exploring. I wasn't really sure whether I was going the right way here. Of course, I'm trying to do this with one hand. Well, I found there was enough slack on the wires just to kind of sit it on the top, and then I could get down and see if I'd gotten the right place. And once I was happy to see that there's the pulley and everything that I was somewhat looking for, you can see those red, I guess they're like bearing wheels. That's what the drum actually sits on. This part is the belt that actually turns the drum. So I could see those. I was like, hey, they look the same color. That looks pretty close. Maybe I'll do that. But this is the pulley, and you can actually see the bearing. It was actually worn there. And if you look at the other one that I have later on, there's a little like Teflon nut that sits on the outside. This right here, that triangle, that's what's holding it. There was nothing on my pulley, so I think it had actually come off. And when I looked at it previously, it was slightly cockeyed. I'm surprised it didn't actually fall off. So that's probably what the squeaking was. And this is, pretty simple. I said I haven't looked at many dryers, but I think this part of taking this pulley off, you have to be careful. Obviously, this thing's under tension. But from looking at the parts, they all look kind of somewhat similar. This idea that there's the belt that turns it, it's under tension by the spring, and it's spring loaded because you actually have clothes in there. Weight may be shifting, so it needs to shift differently. And here I'm kind of trying to remember to trace the wire, the belt, so that I remember how to put it back. And spoiler alert, of course, I didn't remember. But you can see that pulley just came right off. And I was looking at it. That's where I could actually see the wear on there to actually run, because it was running. Of course, that nut wasn't on there. It wasn't running straight. So this was obviously what was causing the squeaking. So I decided to just pull the whole thing off and just kind of look at it first, just to see whether it was worn, since that pulley had been rubbing on something and rubbing the wire away, or the metal away. there was only one nut holding it in. I guess this is a very, very simple, operation to take this pulley off. And so I kind of looked at it, it looked the same, had about the same shape. So I decided that since my part already came all assembled, I would just put the whole new one on there. No reason to try to take this pulley off and see if it goes on there onto that. Again, just I was worried it was worn away. And so I ended up just replacing this to just kind of let you know that I was thinking about, I wanted to see how, if by just replacing this, if it fixed the noise, which it did. And so I didn't bother switching anything else. So actually I was looking at this, and the pulley or the wheel is actually smaller than the original, but it seemed like just the way the length of this belt, it shouldn't cause too much of an issue. Ended up not being fine. So yeah, so I ended up not replacing anything else other than this, because this fixed the issue. And it seems a lot more to actually fix the drums, those pulleys, because you got to disconnect the drum and replace those. So this is obviously pretty simple. There's just one screw to get it on there. It actually goes through the middle of it. It doesn't, so that you can't tighten it, so that this thing completely moves freely. So then once I got it back on and trying to figure out here, trying to remember which way this spring went on. Does it go this way? Does it go that way? Okay, I got this. Now does it fit on the front? And that didn't seem right. And then I go back and look at the video that I shot for this and saw, okay, it goes on the back. Get a little bit better. I just had to try to, it's hard to see because this paper's in the way. It's starting to annoy me. You can't tell, but I'm trying to figure out the best way to tension this spring by holding it on and pulling it down. Maybe if I pull it from the bottom and pull it up. I'd previously tried from the top to bottom. Wasn't working, and just it's kind of a narrow space here. I didn't really feel like hurting myself. So now I'm getting annoyed with this thing. This is some water supply. I think it's like for drying, or so you have some moisture. But it was just one screw to take this off, and kind of got this out of the way, and actually gave me a better view at it. So what I realized was, this might not be the right way, but I put the spring on the actual arm, and then use that as lever to then screw this in. So it was pretty easy, and once I did that, then it was under tension, and it seemed a lot easier. So you can see it holds at the bottom, and then it holds at the top, and then this is what tensions that. And then now back to trying to remember how this cable went over. I can't remember. So it feels like it went under this way and that way, and this feels like I don't think I would ever got it right. Luckily, I had obviously shot this video, so I went back again and had to review it to try to figure this out, because I got tired of fumbling around. And then once I realized, like, okay, it goes over this way and then down this way, which I'm pretty sure I don't think I would have got correct. So it goes under this again. You have to kind of put it under the spring under tension and get under here. And here's a pro tip: when you're trying to use something as a lever, don't do a circular spinning thing like this, or your hand flies off and you hurt it like this. So what I found out was just obviously just got to use the lever. It was a lot better. It really isn't as difficult. I'm not sure why. I think it's because I'm trying to record it and in this narrow space. But once I got it on there, it was fine like this. It's under a little bit of tension, or hard to do, but wasn't too bad. But so I hooked it up, turned it on, and started spinning. I wasn't making any loud noises. This pulley did not fly off. That's good. So I stopped it just to make sure it stops correctly. So at this point, again, it's working. So you can obviously figure out it's pretty easy just to put it back. The back goes on there. Screws all went back in. Just remember to put everything back, all the screws that you took out. Again, yours might be slightly different, but I think just, I was able to do this without really any instructions, so it really was not that difficult. And it was cheap. It was like less than $20 for the kit, so all good.